Dare we open Pandora's mystic box?
To every generation, a slayer is born, except this time there were 6.
This is the dimension of imagination. You are entering the mystic zone.
Do you ladies see that aura? Something wonderful this way comes.
Stand by for a statement from the Mystic Order of East Alabama Fiction Writers.
This is the Mystic Queen speaking to you from the Mystic Podcast Studio. The Queen and the Sister Mystics are all vaccinated and are anxious to resume visiting with their adoring audience. One thing, we actually grew fond of the idle hours and hours and hours. In our last podcast season, we produced one show a week. Against the Mystic Prince's advice, who is the podcaster extraordinaire, we will not launch a weekly podcast, just an excellent one on some Wednesday of each month. With that said, I'd like to reintroduce you to the Mystics. I will say that our Mystic Defender, Joanne, is not here today. I don't know why. And our Mystic Truth Seeker, Katie, is also absent. But I have the 3 M's here, and we'll begin with Mystic Mary. Good morning, Mystic Mary.
Good morning, Queen Gail.
Will you remind me, because I've forgotten over the year, what is your mystic moniker?
Well, my mystic moniker is the Nebulous Mystic, and that's different. Everybody else's is the Mystic something, but that's part of why I'm the Nebulous Mystic. I thought it was because I like to gaze at stars and all things awe-inspiring, but I think it's just because I'm sort of hither, thither, and yon.
Do you actually know the definition of nebulous?
Well, I think of it as a nursery for stars, but I think it also means uncertain. Am I right?
I think so.
I'm not sure.
You're always right. You're right even when we're wrong.
It's a mystic way.
Well, we also have the mystic Margie with us. And Margie, what is your moniker?
I am the Mystic Illuminator.
And why would that be?
Because I illustrate all of our books.
So an illuminator is an illustrator of books?
In the Middle Ages, the monks who copied the books were the copyists, and then the ones that illustrated the books were the illuminators.
Well, I saw the Book of Kell when I was in Ireland,
Yes.
And I think it was illuminated.
It was.
You
And
didn't do that, though, did you?
No, I'm not quite that old. Way back.
And then also, rounding out this session, we have Mystic Marion. And Mystic Marion, I know your moniker, but I don't understand it in any way. You're the dog whisperer.
I am the dog whisperer because I have been told all my life, starting from the time I was a child, that I'm somewhat feral. And I have...
Was that sterile?
Feral.
Oh.
Feral. And I seem to, I don't know, understand and am understood by dogs more than humans. So that is why
Aren't feral people raised by wolves?
Well, I used to also say that I was raised by wolves, as our followers will remember from former podcasts. I was left with a German Shepherd as a babysitter when I was an infant, and I think there was imprinting. So I sort of have parlayed that story into...
Social services should have come and checked out. Are your parents still with us today?
My parents are in their 90s and still with us today.
I guess they're not subject to social services anymore. Have they left anyone else with a dog?
No, they haven't. Their German landlady is who left me with her dog Saber when Mama got blood poisoning because she said the doctor at the Army hospital was trying to kill her.
Oh, I see.
And gave her blood poisoning when I was delivered. And so she had to return to the hospital, and there was nobody to keep me but the German landlady. So she put me in a dresser drawer and left Saber to watch after me, and I'm pretty sure that's when it happened.
Right. After the war, I was born in the Auburn Infirmary, and we were all put in dresser drawers. Those were our bassinets because people, were just not affording bassinets and extra baby beds. So that's why today I have small problems with dresser drawers. But
I think it's why I have so many cast-off dressers. I can hardly pass up a dresser at a thrift store or an estate sale.
because it's like the womb.
It's
right?
like the womb. It's
Yes.
a return to the womb.
Well, there we go.
Thank you, Mystics.
Now we know.
Now we know.
So we've got Mystic Margie, Mystic Mary, and Mystic Marion. And so I think I should be today addressed as Your Majesty, so I'll be an M as well instead of the Queen. It is late May, and for Alabama, it is so cool in the mornings. Usually in May, it's sizzling by the time you have your pancakes outside. But it's beautiful. We think this podcast will go out one wonderful Wednesday in June. But we'll talk about the week we're in right now. And the most memorable thing in my week, because I have adopted my COVID ways and started watching a lot of TV, but Jeopardy! Has Buzzy, a previous champion, as their guest host this week, and I quite enjoy him, but not as much as Aaron Rodgers, who's a hot hunk. And let me tell you,
Her
Alex,
first interest in football.
that's right. I didn't even know of the Green Bay Packers until, but I know Alex Trebek is turning over in his grave because everybody was salivating. All the women were salivating over Aaron Rodgers. How was your week, Mystic Marion?
Well, my week started, I suppose, on Saturday when I went to the garden tour, which was fun. And I came home, sort of to restore my faith in humanity. I'm telling this story. I came home and I put a wish list of hard-to-find plants on my Facebook page, and immediately people I've never met in person but in Facebook friends with started writing and saying, I'll send you seeds for this, I'll send you seeds for that. And I think that's extremely mystical and magical and wonderful that these people I've never met in person have taken an interest in my wish list for perennials.
Yeah.
And are sending me seeds. And I've had visits from friends I haven't seen in over a year this week. My friends Joan and Lynn from childhood came over, and my friend Roger from graduate school has come over. So I've had quite an interesting week.
Are they all vaccinated? Or
They're
are they
all, of
infecting
course
it?
they are. I do not see people who are not doubly vaccinated.
And let me say at this point that the Mystics are 100% vaccinated, and the Queen Mystic volunteered in the vaccination clinic on Monday.
Woo woo.
Woo, good
Thank
for
you. It was a little different because in the beginning, like I got vaccinated February 1st. We were all doing the happy dance and jumping up and down and kissing the nurses that gave us the shot. But in the clinic, it was kind of like they were happy because it was over with. Mm-hmm. They didn't have to have another shot in the arm. But they were kind of blasé about it. And I was thinking, this is saving your life. Why are you so blasé? Well, did you have a good week, Mystic Margie?
Yes, I did. I've recently purchased a new little house that I'm actually having a studio in. My husband said, we're 73 years old. When are you ever going to have your own studio? And I went, okay, I'm buying this house. So I've been, decorating it. And I'm treating, if you know my work, I make these assemblages. So now I have a 3-dimensional assemblage that I am decorating. I just got my fake banana trees because unlike you guys, I do not do well with plants. So I decided, why not get fake ones?
Yeah.
And don't have to water them, and they look pretty damn good. Anyway, I did have a grass incident that I will briefly mention. The grass is growing in front of my new place, and we only have one lawnmower, and my husband and I have several houses that we mow. And so I decided I would just order a lawnmower from Lowe's. So it's coming, and then I hear a knock at the door, and it's this little guy that's out in front of my house with a riding lawnmower. And he says, do you need your lawn cut? And I went, yes, I do, even though I have a lawnmower coming. So he got on his lawnmower, and I said, how much? And I thought he said $200. And I said, wait. And he said, 20 for the front yard and 20 for the backyard. So I said, okay, go for it. So he does the front yard, but then his lawnmower's too big to get in the backyard because it's gated, it's fenced. But I have a house up the street that one of my children lives in.
How many damn houses do you have?
Well, I'm trying to buy Hudson Terrace, but I only own two
That's a
houses.
street.
It's a street. So I said, I'll tell you what you can do. You can go up to 539 Hudson Terrace and cut that grass. So he said, okay. So I don't hear him because it's only 3 houses away. So I start walking up the street. Well, he isn't in that yard. He went down to 569 Hudson Terrace, and he's mowing away, and I'm running down the street, and I'm going, wrong yard, wrong yard, wrong yard. And so he looks at me. I went, wrong yard, back this way. So he loads up, and so this people who I don't know, half their lawn is mowed.
Are you going to fess up?
No.
I think it would have been charitable if you'd mowed the whole thing and paid for it.
Well,
Really?
I paid him $10 more for his half.
No, I don't mean for him. I mean for the people who own the
for the
house.
people that, yes.
My guess is those people are gardens, not lawns people, and they're furious right now because they came home and their lawn that they were letting go wild is now mown.
That's the kind of lawn I have.
Well, anyway, he came back and did 539, and later my son who lives there called and said, "Who did you let do this? He cut down one of my wild azaleas."
Oh, no. Oh, no.
All right. So, Mary, what about your week?
Well, I had an interesting mystic moment, which I'll have 2, I guess, but Margie was part of my mystic moment. I think any encounter with a wild animal is pretty mystical. So I had seen a woodchuck in my creek, and I'd gone out to visit with the woodchuck and was met by a really large cottonmouth who was very pretty. And I lived next to a municipal park, and children play in my creek. So I had lots of ambivalence about the cottonmouth. I mean, I know there's cottonmouths in creeks, but I knew this cottonmouth was in my creek, in my yard where kids play. And I pondered over it about what to do. And the next day, Margie's walking down the street, and I love how things come together. My husband, Joe, comes out, and then our friend who lives in a teepee in our yard, Teepee Joe, comes out too. We're all standing around looking down into the creek, and Teepee Joe says, "Now, where did you see that cottonmouth?" And I said, "He's right there." And so I what's the word when you think of something and it just appears? I manifested the snake. I manifested him, and there he was, this huge cottonmouth, and he crawled under a rock, and we mulled a little bit and decided we would catch him and release him further down the creek. And at this point, Margie took off. I don't know why.
I saw his little tongue come out of his head, and I just said,
That's because you've got good sense. I believe too.
I am not going to watch this.
Well, I got the cooler, and TP Joe got the tongs, and the cottonmouth now lives further downstream, and I
You
hope he
don't
doesn't
think
come
it can
back.
find its
He
way
doesn't
back?
swim?
He can swim, but we're just hoping he'll be happy where he
Right.
is.
I understand.
I would have taken him to someone else's stream.
Well, he's in the
As a matter
same.
of fact, I have a list of people whose stream we could put
Yeah,
him in.
me too. I was just thinking how fond some of these people would be of a cottonmouth.
If you relocate them too far, you run a risk to the snake, and we don't want
Yeah.
to do that. But anyway,
No, that
here's
would
the
be a
end of
damn
the story.
shame, wouldn't it, girls?
The end of the story is I'm still looking for the cute furry woodchuck.
Woodchuck.
And Joe, my husband Joe, saw it running across the street. But last night I got a phone call from Teepee Joe, and he said the woodchuck was visiting him in his teepee.
Oh, no.
And he thought it was my little dog Petey, and he went out there, and sure enough, there was the woodchuck just saying hello. So I
He's
hope that I
probably
have more
quite sick
adventures.
with rabies.
Probably.
He probably
Well-
went to preschool and got socialized.
Yes.
Preschool for groundhogs
Right.
and other animals. Okay, well, that was an interesting week, girls. Next on our agenda, we are going to talk about our favorite books we've been reading, and I'm not glad Mystic Katie's not here because I love Mystic Katie, but she lent me this book, and I called her up after I read it, and I said, "Did you mean to lend me this book? Because I'm going to keep it." And so she said, go ahead, and ordered herself another copy, but it's called Becoming Duchess Rosenblatt. And it is the best ever use of Twitter and country music combined. And the author is anonymous, but I'm pretty sure the author is from New York and either a publisher or an editor in some, fancy New York book house. I don't want to tell you one thing about it because it is so good that you need your own copy. Why don't you just ask to borrow Katie's and keep it?
Has she replaced it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
All right, well, we'll just go to Katie.
Okay, Miss Mary, have you read a good book?
I've read a lot of good books, but for whatever reason, I decided I was going to go back a year or so and I'll just recommend a book by somebody that we know, Chantel Acevedo. I fell in love with her book, Love and Ghost Letters. So I got another one called The Living Infinite. And I can't recommend it highly enough. She's an incredible storyteller. I think she could tell the story of soup boiling on the stove, and it would just be
Can
delightful.
I borrow that book? I promise to give it back.
You may borrow it. It's historical fiction about the, I don't know how to say, Infanta Eulalia.
Yeah.
And she was a true controversial figure. And she traveled to Cuba in 1893. And I won't say anything else about it because that makes it sound boring, but it's
What was
really
the title?
good.
What was the title again?
The Living Infinite. by
I traveled to
Chantel
Cuba on the
Acevedo.
last boat before our president at the time said we couldn't go to Cuba.
I wish I'd gone with you.
Me too.
I wish y'all had gone with me too.
Cuba's one place I'd really like to go.
You know, it was my one and only cruise experience. And if you're out there, audience, let me give you one bit of advice. Don't buy your art on a cruise. Most of the art is frame posters, and very expensive frame posters. So
Well, I have a question. Were there lots of handsome men in Panama hats and white linen suits in Cuba smoking cigars?
there were lots of them in these cars as your guide. Our tour guide was quite charming and handsome.
The picture I have of Cuba is
I was
that.
very sorry that I did not take gifts for the Cubans because of the embargo. I think things like nails and hammers and safety pins and not writing pens. I saw a note from Cuba, please quit sending us writing pens and paper. But you can look up things to take, and you can just hand them out to anybody and they'd be grateful. They've been very clever with what they have, and point is these cars, these 50s cars.
Right.
Well, what's your book, Miss Marion?
Well, the book that I picked to talk about is our friend Scott Wilkerson has a new book that just came out from Negative Capability Press, which is Sue Walker's press. I believe it's located in Mobile or that area, if I'm not mistaken. The name of it is Cruel Fever of the Sky. And I had not talked to Scott in a while. We took,
Is it poetry?
Yes, and it's very interesting. I guess you'd say the underlying connector throughout this collection is Icarus.
Oh.
And Scott presents, we go back and forth from modern day California when Scott was living there. And of course, his language is very beautiful, and meet characters that he came in contact with in California. But all throughout, we have Icarus appearing in different places. He appears all over the world in different poems. And what Scott's doing with this is he has Icarus as the model throughout the collection for artistic flying and failing, or flying
Too
and falling,
close to the sun.
flying too close and then falling. And it's quite brilliantly done. He contacted me and asked me to write a blurb for it, which I did. And so I really enjoyed reading it. I wanted to recommend Scott's new book, and it's now out. It's listed on Amazon.
Thank you. That sounds interesting.
A country singer wrote the blurb for becoming Duchess.
Really? Do you remember which
Rosenblatt.
country singer?
I do, but I'm not going to tell
You're
you
not
because I hope you read the book.
I will read the book now that you said it involves country music.
Yeah.
Because as the lyric goes, I was into country when country wasn't cool.
Yeah.
Do you think Chris Christopherson wrote it?
I kind of doubt that Chris Christopherson wrote it, but it's
The
possible.
Duchess book.
No, the blurb.
The blurb.
Oh, no, he didn't write the book.
Oh. Well, the book is by Anonymous. It's a memoir
Right.
by Anonymous. So he could have, but no.
He's
No.
capable of it,
Yeah.
certainly.
All right. Mystic Margie.
Okay, well, my couple of books, but one is Clara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro, and it's all about an artificial friend, about artificial intelligence, and how this young girl has an artificial friend. It's really good. Is
that a computer? You're friends with a computer?
No, it's a life-size person. It's like they're just like people, but they are really robots, but they're just like people. And they also are learning emotion. And actually they have, as you learn, maybe more compassion than people, but they do worship the sun because they're solar powered. So to them, the sun is God. So they pray. She prays every day. The girl she is adopted by is sick, so she prays to the sun every day that the girl will be healed.
Interesting.
So it's kind of interesting. Another one that I listened to Margaret Atwood on an interview, and she recommended her late husband's book called The Bedside Book of Birds by Graham Gibson. And he collected all of these things on birds, postcards and poems and everything. And it's a compilation of that over his lifetime.
Did you buy that book?
I did.
Can I borrow it?
Yes. Yes, Your Majesty.
Maybe we should bring the books we talk about
We
to
should.
the podcast, and then we can do a big mystic shuffle.
Yes.
I'm not sure that I am lending out the Duchess book because it's precious to me.
We'll get Katie to bring her copy.
Yeah, we'll get Katie to do that again. Okay, well, that is very interesting. Our book selections. We hope our listeners out there will read them. We'll be our readers. Next on the agenda is our Mystic Stamp of Excellence, and it can be excellence in film or anything else we care to stamp. And my stamp of excellence this week goes to Sir Charles Barkley, who is, by the way, an Auburn graduate, as all the mystics are Auburn graduates. And he's given a lot of money to Auburn. But he graduated from high school from Leeds City School, and that's east of Birmingham. And he's given them over $3 million. And last year, he made sure every student had Wi-Fi and laptops so they could be equipped for virtual learning. He bought the band new uniforms, and he gives scholarships to Leeds students as they graduate and get ready to go to college. But the thing I like best that he's done, he graduated from Leeds in 1981. But the thing I like best that he did this year, because I'm a teacher, and teachers are pretty much underappreciated. I think they're appreciated, but underappreciated. And a point there I'd like to make is this discussion about teachers going back to work, but let's not vaccinate them. I'm trying to see how that makes any sense at all, If the teacher wants to be vaccinated, then go back to work. That sounds great. That sounds like the plan. But anyway, that's an example. But let me tell you what Sir Charles did. He gave an end-of-the-year bonus to every single school system employee, $1,000. This included 225 people in the system, and it was the bus drivers, the custodians, the teachers, the support staff, and so many more that work in that Leeds school. I've always thought Charles Barkley was more than just a pretty face, and I think that proves it.
Yeah, he's a class act. That is wonderful.
That is great.
Is it my turn for a mystic stamp?
Yeah.
I'm giving my mystic stamp of excellence this week or month or whatever we're doing to Bob Dylan, who is turning 80 in a few days as of this recording. And he has an album, his new album that came out in June 2020. It's called Rough and Rowdy Ways. And if you haven't picked it up, I highly recommend it. It's excellent and has titles like I Contain Multitudes, Black Rider, a lovely song about Key West, and the almost 17-minute song called Murder Most Foul, which takes you through things leading up to and around the Kennedy assassination. And it is fantastic. I think they're teaching whole college courses on just that song. So shout out to Bob Dylan for being 80 years old and still churning out some beautiful music. There's my stamp.
Well, I didn't prepare a stamp of excellence, but I thought one up while I was sitting here.
That's what mystics do.
And I didn't.
That's so Joanne-esque.
I did. Let me lead the discussion on the stamp of excellence.
Okay.
I didn't do the research, so I can't support my abstract stamp with concrete
We don't
details.
care. You don't need
But
to
I'm
do
going to give my
research.
stamp of excellence to Jason Isbell.
Oh, I love, yes.
Because
yes.
he is multi-talented. He writes the most beautiful. He's on par with Chris Christopherson as a songwriter, and he and his wife have been so outspoken on important political issues and have supported important political issues. And while I'm at it, I'll just say that when I listen to his song, "If We Were Vampires, I'd Have to Lie on the Floor."
Why?
It is so beautiful.
I agree.
Really? I've never heard it. But
If we were
it's
vampires.
gorgeous.
It's gorgeous.
I want to say a little bit about that. Jason Isbell and the Drive-By Truckers came to Waverly, and my son, the Mystic Prince, was the MC. And so he got to know them in the early years and started following them. Well, the Mystic Prince, his podcast, which is every week, he interviewed in this last podcast one of the Drive-By Truckers.
Really?
Yeah. So the broadcast is called The Goods from the Woods. And if you want to hear from one of the Drive-By Truckers, just listen to Rivers Langley and The Goods from the Woods.
Well, when I was preparing my, mystic moment of excellence or whatever we're supposed to do.
Support
Okay,
and research.
Okay, well,
and peer reviewed.
I was thinking about television, and so I would like to highly recommend the HBO series The Nevers. It's really great. So if you haven't watched that, catch it. It's almost in the last episode. It's called The Nevers, and it's kind of science fiction combined with late 1800s to spaceships and people getting superpowers, and it's pretty fabulous.
Really?
So it comes
You're
on every
the second
Sunday night.
recommendation I've gotten for that, but my husband's not into all the sci-fi stuff.
Well, every lunchtime, my husband watches also Marco Polo on Netflix. And if you're Marco Polo, he had a lot of adventures, and Genghis Khan is in it, and it's pretty. I just look at it every lunch when we're eating lunch together. So I have no idea what's going on, but it's pretty fascinating. They do fight a lot.
Those guys were brutal.
Another one on HBO is The Undoing. It's very good.
Oh yeah,
Very good.
That was.
I haven't seen the last one. So
Oh
don't
my
t-
God!
Don't tell me the last.
You-
the last one, but
I'm holding
episode.
my mouth closed for Margie because she'll do a spoiler in a minute.
I know
you
it.
just better be careful.
Yeah,
Not
quit.
gonna do it
Quit it,
this
Margie. No, not another word, Margie.
Cut Margie's mic.
Okay, click.
All right. Well, we are now to the Mystic Sea, which is traveling. And speaking of the Mystic Prince, he spent 4 months with us during COVID. He came from L.A., and he got a late afternoon shot. He wasn't old enough, but there was one left over, so he had to stay another month. And then 2 weeks after that. So he came at Thanksgiving and he left after, I guess, in March. We went on an adventure every day, and one of the adventures we went on was to Jackson Lake Island in Millbrook, Alabama, and this is the set of the town of Spectra where Big Fish was filmed. I would recommend it to everyone except on May 4th it was hit by a tornado.
Oh no.
And the big pavilion looks like it's ruined. I looked at it online, and but it has little lambs and little goats all over the island, and they were all okay. So
Good.
that's important.
Good.
But if they get it cleaned up, I feel like at $5 a head, which is very cheap, and it was so cheap, I said to the guy, "Do you have senior rates?" And
And he took you seriously?
well, he said, "Ma'am, we're a mom and pop operation here." But anyway, I recommend it so highly. It's on the Coosa River, and it's beautiful. And, it's $5 a head. So if they do, look online and see when they reopen. And I'd visit Jackson Lake Island in Millbrook, Alabama.
That's been on my to-do list. I wish I'd done it before the daggum tornado.
It's one of the places I would actually like to go to.
Well, we can all go there. It's a one-day trip.
Yeah, let's go.
let's
We'll
go.
get our Diet Cokes. Marion will blindfold you because we're going to take some left turns.
Oh, it's not the left turns. I trust all of your driving.
We'll
As long
take the
as-
big white
as long
car,
as I
and
don't
we can
have
get
to
every
take the
mystic
left
in
turn.
it.
Okay.
Oh, well, let's go.
Well, where are you traveling to, Mary?
Well, I was like, man, I didn't do anything. I stayed at home during the pandemic, but that's not true. I went to my favorite place, Edisto Island in South Carolina, not once, not twice, but 3 times during the pandemic. So I spent a total of a month at Edisto, which is a little barrier island in South Carolina with one road in, and they still, have a lot of Gullah influence there. And it was as lovely a place to isolate and be quarantined as possible because there's nobody there. And in fact, our daughter Anna joined us on the second trip, and when she got there, she tested positive for COVID. So we had to stay, boo-hoo, a little bit later. So we stayed over 2 weeks.
So she was quarantined.
She was quarantining with us at Edisto. Remarkably, Joe and I did not get it. we were pretty careful. But she was still able to go outside and be outside a lot.
So she had no symptoms?
She got symptoms on the drive up, and it's a long drive. It was 8 hours or 7 hours.
8 hours from Auburn?
Mm-hmm. So she couldn't turn around and leave. So she went into Charleston the next day and got a test and was positive. And so we just stuck her in the bedroom, and she spent time on the porch, and we still thoroughly enjoyed our vacation. We happened to be there during the election returns, and it was riveting to watch TV on vacation.
So Edisto has TV service. Do they have internet service?
They do, and I actually now I work online. So the reason I was able to take these vacations is because I can throw all my work into a box and take it with me. And the internet worked the whole time, and I was able to work from Edisto. So it was nice place to quarantine. Dolphins. Hanging Spanish moss.
I know your trips were all to Jernigan.
Well, I've made some trips to Jernigan. This is always the hardest part of the podcast for me, is the travel section. However, I have a really good imagination, and I came up with an answer for where I've traveled to, and it's a good answer. I traveled to Notasulga because our friends Bill and Poe Weiss gave me an opium bed, a teak opium bed that's been stored in our...
Can you smoke this bed?
You can't smoke the bed, but you can put your opium in two little doors that are on the bed that open and close for you to keep your resin and opium paraphernalia in. The bed is in 4,500 pieces, and it's heavy.
It's because it was owned by an opium
Well,
taker.
it was shipped from Bali, and it's never been unpacked. Well, that's not true, because Billy told me he did put it together once.
Have you got it together now?
Oh, no, I can't even lift it. I mean, this is going to require two males or females with superhuman strength. But it's all part of the chaos that is my life right now. But I have a teak opium bed in my...
Does it come with opium when you buy it?
No, it does not. I'll just give a simple, quick answer to that. No.
I want to say to our interested listeners out here that I will be posting a picture on the Mystic Order Facebook page and maybe the Twitter account, if I can remember how to get into it, of Marion in a similar opium bed, so that you can have a visual to go with the story.
One of the most fun days in recent memory is a day that our friend Gina, who owned the Rattling Gourd Gallery in Lochapoka, opened it to Mary and me and allowed us to have the upstairs so that Mary could be my photographer and I could pose in various outfits.
And beds.
In beds, but mostly another opium bed that belonged to the Weisses that also came from Bali, but sadly that opium bed burned in a fire a year
So we
ago.
could call you the bed whisperer, too.
You
right?
could also call me the bed whisperer.
You know, we went to the Do Nanny, which was in Salem?
Seal.
And I don't know if you remember this, but you got in some bed there.
And you took my photo. It's one of my
Yes.
favorite photos.
Yes.
It was a pink bed.
And what isn't it painted more than pink, though? But it was definitely a Do Nanny
It was painted
picture.
Pepto-Bismol pink, and I had on fluffy things what do you call those things?
Wings?
No, like scarves.
Yeah, a boa.
Boas. They weren't feathered. They were actually knitted or crocheted or something, but they were fluffy.
There were fluffy boas.
And I was lying in that bed, and you took my photograph, and I love that photograph. It's a great memory.
I haven't seen it lately, but anyway.
It makes me real happy to be sitting at a table with some of my best friends, and that we can say things like, well, I was at the Do Nanny. We've all gone to the Do Nanny, and we've all had adventures at the Do Nanny. And
Yeah.
there's just not many friends I can sit at tables with and have that experience.
I'm really, really sorry that there's no more Do Nannies.
Yeah, me too.
I am too.
Well, Miss
I
Margie.
travel.
Okay, you did. What a surprise. You're our most traveled, probably.
Have you been to Notasulga?
I have been to Notasulga, but not lately. Actually, during the pandemic, my daughter, Britton, who lives in Atlanta, we would meet in Pine Mountain, Georgia, and go hiking in the FDR State Park. It's where FDR had the little White House, and there are lots of trails there. And I ended up having to, as we were hiking, my daughter would not touch me because she didn't want to be exposed to COVID. And we were crossing all of these streams, and I was going like... I need a hand, please, Britton, help your mama. And so I ended up buying a walking stick off of Etsy. So when we hike, it's in the back of my car right now. It was a handmade one. And so I have this staff that I walk with, and therefore I don't need my daughter to lend me a helping hand.
That's funny. When the Mystic Prince was here, we went somewhere every day to walk, and I had just ruptured a major tendon in my foot, and it didn't hurt, but I was certainly not a good walker. So I got those Trek sticks, the two Trek sticks. They were $9.99 on Amazon. So there's a shout out.
I told y'all recently that I sprained my ankle a couple of weekends ago when I was home alone, and I had to fashion a rollator out of my rolling yoga ball chair and a 3-step step ladder. So I've had a walking experience too, with not a ruptured tendon.
Well, we're all getting older.
No.
I went to see all my doctors the last 2 weeks that I hadn't seen in a year, and they all said this thing to me. As we get older. Okay, well,
I wanted to comment that I also got some of those walking sticks once when my husband and I were going to go trek in Nepal, but then they had the earthquake, and so we ended up not going, and we took the walking sticks back to REI.
You took them back.
these were
Like
cheap.
you were never going to walk again.
These were cheap ones. You can
these
we
are
could
kind
donate them.
These are kind of expensive. They were real trek sticks.
When I was in St. Lucia, I went to this bird preserve, and these tourists that were all really elderly and skinny from Britain all had these fancy walking sticks, but the women had the kind of safari shirt on, but under it was those beautiful, what do you call them? They're like tall bras to the waist, and they've got lace.
Camisoles?
No, they weren't a camisole, but all these elderly women were wearing these fancy underclothes.
Corsets?
No, they're not corsets.
Bralettes.
Bralettes. They were bralettes. I'll have to think. Bustiers.
Bustiers. Bodices.
And they were like, every
Bodice.
one of them had a purple one, a green one. I thought, this is so odd, but what am I? I don't know much about bird watchers. I'm just a bird appreciator.
Bird watchers and bodices.
Well, have we gone through the travel sequence?
Yes.
And now we're to Mystic Bites, which is our food section. Mine is about hummus, which I totally dislike. In fact, I was excommunicated from the Unitarian Church because of my stand on hummus. However, my buddy, an excellent author, Rita Grimsley Johnson, gave me some pear cranberry balsamic vinegar from Past Christian olive oils and vinegars. I guess you could get it from any vinegar store. I haven't seen a vinegar store in a while, but this one's still alive and well. And I mixed that with some really tasteless hummus, not a lot, just a little bit, and voila. It was absolutely fabulous. I think I invented that, so when it comes out, hummus with pear and cranberry balsamic vinegar, remember you heard it first from the Queen.
Are you aware that baba ganoush is now called eggplant hummus
Well,
at Kroger?
That's
Only at Kroger.
Only at Kroger.
Yeah, so you do like
Baba ganoush.
eggplant hummus.
No, it's baba ganoush.
I know it's baba ganoush, but
The very idea.
It's actually sold at Kroger as eggplant hummus. So.
I noticed that.
I have to comment that we met the hummus lady when we were in Shanghai visiting our son. And it was actually the guy went to Auburn University. We met him at the Marriott at this little reception they had every day with a bar kind of with these kind of executive people. So I don't know how we got in there, but we were there. And my husband had on his Auburn hat, and the guy goes like, War Eagle. And he went, War Eagle. Well, we started chatting, and he was retired from like Dow Chemical or something in Shanghai. And he realized that there was no hummus in China. So he started making hummus, and he called himself the hummus lady. And he
That's so different.
he supplied all of these restaurants. He got a commercial kitchen in his
From chickpeas.
commercial chickpea.
Chickpea
And so
kitchen.
he was, just doing really great as the hummus lady. He said, to be the hummus lady was better than being the hummus man.
Yeah, because
Definitely.
that would be
So-
weird.
So anyway, but Auburn grad makes it big as hummus lady.
Yeah. What was
Awesome.
the hummus every kind? Is he still living? Because I'm going to give him my clue about balsamic
They were
vinegar.
moving back to the States, but I don't remember his name. I'll have to look it up. But
Well, the next time y'all get some tasteless hummus,
okay.
just a little bit of balsamic vinegar. If you can find cranberry and pear. Do we have those kind of vinegars around? I've never seen anything but white and dark.
I bet they have them at like World Market.
Ah,
Yeah.
We have like apple cider vinegars around.
well, yeah, but that won't do it. You got to
Yeah.
have a little bit of fruit.
It's got to be
fruit.
infused.
All right, what is your worry about asking Mary about her favorite food?
I sure do eat a lot of good peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And I eat a lot of them during pandemic. On whole wheat bread, smoker's peanut butter, and preferably homemade jam or jelly. There you go. There's my mystic bite.
There you go. Mary is not our cook.
Well, I started back on the Mediterranean diet. I'm off of it for reasons I won't go into for a day or two, but I started back on it this past week, and I made lentil salad for the first time.
Yum.
That includes vinegar and olive oil and feta cheese and pine nuts. It's quite delicious.
Did you bring samples?
No, I cooked the lentils from a bag, in the crock pot overnight, and then I made the salad the next day, and I keep it in the refrigerator so when my son comes by for lunch, there's something to dip out. But I will bring the recipe, and the next time we eat together as mystics, I'll bring that for my
Ooh, yummy.
for my
Yes.
recipe. But I was thinking this was going to be. Well, I mean, I wasn't thinking anything. I was gonna treat this as Mystic BYTES, and I was gonna tell y'all that I've been listening this week to a podcast called "In God We Lust," and it's the Jerry Falwell Jr. and Becky and the Pool Boy story. If y'all are interested in something lascivious.
Oh, always,
listen to.
always. I mean, that's my middle name.
Well,
Queen Lascivious.
I didn't want to point that out under Mystic Opus.
Hey, I like that. Queen Lascivious.
Yeah, that's good.
Doesn't start with an M, but okay.
It's on Wondery, but I mean, I think y'all can find it on
It's on what?
Wondery, but I think you can find it on whatever you
Oh, yeah.
listen to
YouTube.
podcasts on. But it's free on Wondery.
Ah,
Well, I have to highly recommend the pimento cheese from Publix called My Three Sons. And it's it's just regular pimento cheese, but it's really good. And I eat it every day with pecan nut thins.
Yum.
oh,
sounds
yeah.
good.
And that is and also the Clausen sliced kosher dill pickles.
Well, yeah, that's a given.
That is just the best. And
Oh, I do have I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
that's okay. That's all I, had
I
to
have
say.
a food thing. My husband had to have some surgery that made him where he had to eat soft food for a while, and he was searching for the perfect mac and cheese, and he kept getting this runny mac and cheese. He was getting it every meat and three and grocery store, and I said, I'll make you some mac and cheese, the kind that stands up when you cut it. So I went digging into my old recipe box and made the old-fashioned mac and cheese that stands up when you cut it, and y'all, it has 8 eggs.
Ooh.
8
That's why it
eggs.
stands up.
Every noodle is filled with egg, and it is, oh my God, it's so good.
Is
it's
it-
delicious. Probably
all right.
illegal.
All right.
Wow. Okay. Bring that next.
I will.
Well, I don't even know if we have time for our topic today. We'll probably have to treat it like the Mystic Bites and just do a little short something about it. But our topic for today is things I learned in quarantine. And I know everyone has tales to tell about their COVID days. The thing I learned most is I looked at my calendar during COVID and there was only one thing written on it, and it was a doctor's appointment. And I keep my paper calendars, and I looked at the ones months back before COVID, and every single space was filled in with something to do or somewhere to be. And I even had written with arrows to the outside margins. And I really have decided that is crazy. I want something in the middle of that to make my days less busy and have more time for just idling. That was my one thing I learned. And the second thing I learned was, and I was reminded of this, I had a friend in high school, and after graduate school, we both ended up back at Auburn for a while looking for jobs, and It was not just the greatest time for both of us. You know yourself when you're a college graduate and you don't know what's ahead, but he wanted to go somewhere every day. You know, whether it was to an old town they've built in Georgia or out to look at horses. He wanted to go somewhere every day. And I found myself just being filled with a lot of joy in a time that was scary for me, looking for my new life. And when the Mystic Prince was here, he wanted to go somewhere every day. And we went all over Alabama to some of the most curious places there are. One was, of course, the Jackson Lake Island. Another one was we went to Fort Decatur. And Fort Decatur is just out in the middle of nowhere on 85, exit 22, I think. And it's just a rock that says this was once Fort Decatur. And we had to go through field and stream and bramble to find this place. I can't really remember what Fort Decatur what war or whatever. All I remember is trying not to get snake bit and thorn scratched. So I found myself every day, even though COVID was going on and we were all, until we got totally vaccinated, all nervous and afraid. And I found myself feeling a lot of joy with just some very simple things.
Okay, two things I learned during COVID. I don't need any clothes. And and I love masks.
Oh, I
Yeah.
do too.
No need for a facelift now, girls.
Yeah.
No
yeah.
need for a facelift.
No need
Just-
for lipstick.
Yeah, just put on that mask.
Well, yeah, and when your doctor zaps you, you know, to get rid of those unhappy places on your face, you can wear a mask and no one knows you've been zapped.
Okay, those are
Those are good.
two
All right,
things that I
Marion.
learned.
Well, I just learned really what I already knew, but that I'm an introvert. I love masks, and I thoroughly enjoyed. I was very sorry that people were sick and that small businesses were going under. I didn't really care if corporations did, but I was very sad that people were losing their small businesses and loved ones, and people were sick. But I thoroughly enjoyed having no deadlines or time constraints or destinations, that my calendar was empty, as Gail said. It was so nice not to look at my calendar and say, I have to do this today and this today and this tomorrow. I loved it. So that's what I learned during quarantine. And also that I can live for a long time on a cabbage and some sweet potatoes.
You should have married the Mystic King instead of me. COVID was made for the Mystic King. He didn't have to, because I drag him to every social event known to man, and I couldn't.
Right.
And he just thoroughly enjoyed his COVID time of not being taken advantage of by his social wife.
I've always enjoyed spending a lot of time by myself. So I was fine mentally through COVID, except for worrying about people. A lot of crazy things were happening with my family, a lot of medical stuff. I lost my job. You know, I was working in schools. And so on March 13th, that was my last day of working. And I had to find really fast an income. And so the day after March 13th, I started applying to teach online, and I've had 5 teaching contracts working with 5 different companies in 5 different time zones. That doesn't always correlate, but it's been a huge experience. I mean, I've never done anything like this before, and in the past year, I've just delved right into it. Everything from making language learning videos to writing curriculum to teaching. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm still doing it, and I think I'm just going to keep doing it. Just working from home.
I love working from home in my pajamas.
I love not having to work from home. I just
Right.
retired 3 weeks ago, and I can't even catch up with everything I want. I'm busier now trying to catch up with everything I couldn't do when I was working. I don't want to work from home. I want to play from home.
That'll be my next
I would
stage
rather
in
play
life.
from home, but I'd rather work from home than have to park a car and climb a hill and come in contact with colleagues.
Right. If we
Yeah.
must work.
If we must
Some
work.
of us still
If we
must
work.
I think there's been a big discussion on that on maybe 60 Minutes, or about people who've been home working and they don't want to go back.
Right.
They want to stay home and work. Well, we have arrived at the Mystic Moments, and the Queen thinks she'll go last for the Mystic Moment. So, Mystic Margie,
Well,
what
what-
was your Mystic Moment?
Watching Mary threaten to catch a water moccasin. That was my mystic moment, and I'm sorry I chickened out, but that snake looked at me, and I knew they were going to get it by its little neck, and it was going to get away and jump on me.
Yes,
I didn't
think
catch
you're
it.
right. I think you're right. You're the smart one.
Oh, who caught it?
TP Joe caught it with
TP
the
Joe.
snake catcher tongs.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't hang around for that.
I thought snake catchers were those loops that you pull.
Yeah, those don't work. They didn't work with our snake that ended up in our toilet. We needed tongs.
Oh, you have a snake toilet.
That'll be for another day.
Okay.
All right. What was your mystic moment, Mary?
I'm not sure I had a mystic moment. I did last year transplant a bunch of invasive passion flowers to my back fence, and they've covered it.
Well, they're invasive.
Right. And you know, against everybody else's better judgment, I dug these little baby passion flowers up and planted them along the fence. And when I go out some mornings and many of them are blooming purple and smelling so sweet, that in itself is a mystical moment to
Yes.
see that purple blanket of invasive blooms and smell their scent.
In college, this guy would make kickapoo joy juice in a big old tub, and he'd float those in the top of it, and they're poisonous.
Yes.
So it's amazing. This is someone we all know. Maybe.
if you know how to use them, they are used in a pharmaceutical way as a
Getting rid of what?
a
People you
calming
don't care
agent.
for.
Very cool.
A calming agent, but you have to know what you're doing to use them.
Forever calm.
It's sort of like using.
Oh, why bother? Let's
it's
just
like,
try it.
It's like, making your own foxglove for digitalis. I think there's some danger involved, but yeah, they are used as a calmant.
Everybody drank kickapoo joy juice, and floating on top are these beautiful flowers. And it was years later that I found out they were poisonous. So there.
We made ice cream out of them 2 years ago.
So there. Did you feel calm?
Yes, very, very calm. My heartbeat was hardly noticeable.
We don't have to do like medical disclaimers on our podcast, do we?
Yes.
Do not try this at home.
There we go. I had a real mystic moment. It was truly mystical. The two things I did every day this quarantine, this year, was work and walk at Kiesel Park. We walked 3.5 miles every blooming day at Kiesel Park with the dogs. And my feet hurt, and I'm getting old, and walking is not making them feel better. And I haven't gotten my walking sticks yet, but I'm going to. But I decided I wanted a bicycle, that I would take a bike out there, and that would hurt my feet less. But then I started looking how much bicycles cost, and I was stunned. And I thought, I'm not going to get a bicycle, and I couldn't even find one on Facebook Marketplace that I could afford. But then one of our neighbors right down the street from here put one out on the side of the road, and they were out there. And I said, "Are you throwing this out?" "Yeah." And it's a perfectly good Schwinn 5-speed bike.
Oh, my.
And so I've tried riding it around the neighborhood. It all works. I'm like, that was so mystical. It just happened within days of the decision to get a bike that one appeared. I
God
manifested
knows
a
who
bike.
needs a bike.
That's right. That's right.
That's right.
Wow.
That was very mystical.
The law of attraction. You speak it to the universe, and the universe provides.
That's right.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
I can't tell you how many times Gail has acted for the law of attraction, God, and provided from an estate sale something that I really, really, really needed.
You didn't need it. You just wanted it.
just wanted
You
it.
just wanted it. Just wanted it. Well, my mystic moment is maybe a little bit light, on the light side, but we're fans of American Idol. We're the last fans. Everybody else has moved over to The Voice, but we watch it on Sunday night. And there is this very large black man on American Idol, and his name is Willie Spence. And I don't know much about music at all, but I'm absolutely sure Willie Spence is an angel. It is amazing singing. And if you want to watch him on YouTube, you can. Because watching him once, or twice on the broadcast just isn't. He is truly, and y'all know I am not much on music.
Right. That's what
I'm not.
I was thinking that.
I started watching American Idol so I'd have an excuse not to go to city council. And when people would call me and say, "We need your voice at city council," I go, "Oh no, that's American Idol night." So now I'm and I've told you about the American Idol contestant that sang to me in South Dakota, but this is a whole different thing, and I can't say enough about Willie Spence. Even if he doesn't, he's down to the last four. Even if he doesn't win American Idol, which is dependent on voters. I don't vote, People call in and vote. Even if he doesn't win, he is the American Idol, and he is the voice. He's amazing. And I demand that you all listen to him.
Okay.
Been demanded.
The Queen has spoken.
Wait, are you demanding it to the listening audience? Or
Yes,
just
yes,
those of us
yes.
at the
Why,
table?
why stop here with the Mystics? I demand everyone listening out there to listen to Willie Spence sing because he is amazing.
Okay.
Okay.
He's got some amazing grace.
Well, maybe I'll link to one of his YouTubes on our Mystic social media.
Oh, good. Whatever that means, I want you to.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we have come to the end of the Mystic podcast for the month of probably June. And I wish some of our audience would send us some response. How do they do that, Mary? They listen to...
Whatever they're listening to, I don't know. They can subscribe to things. They can like. It just depends on what platform they're listening to.
We have a Facebook page. Write our Facebook page and tell us that you're a Mystic fan. We'd just like to hear from you people. We do have one fan. He lives in Birmingham.
We do.
And we love him.
We do love him. I
We've
sent
been-
him presents.
Yeah, we've been
Do
known to
you?
send the fans little mystic
mean
giggles.
the fan.
So you never know.
The fan.
No, the hordes of fans, I think you mean.
Yes.
Hordes of fans. We
Yes.
love y'all fans.
Thanks, Van.
We love y'all fans.
So let us know what you're thinking. And it is over and out for the Mystic Order of East Alabama Fiction Writers.